Buckle up, my fellow nerds. You have asked, and I shall deliver. Today marks yet another custom action figure feature. I'll be showing a little love to both DC and Marvel Comics in this segment because we shouldn't have to choose one over the other. Besides, Image Comics would kick both their asses. Moving on. The first figure I want to show you guys is my custom Deathstroke. All the figures featured today are in the 12-inch or 1/6 scale. I can't afford anything from Sideshow Collectibles or Hot Toys, so I make do with what I can. Mattel and Hasbro produce cheap 12-inch figures that I love to customize, and that's exactly what I've done here. I took two cheap-ass figures, Jazzwares Omega from Fortnite and Mattel's True Moves Deathstroke, and I combined them into something truly remarkable. That base Deathstroke figure was way too scrawny for my tastes, and modding him so that he could wear these armor pieces really makes him stand out and resemble his comic book counterpart at the same time. If you guys are familiar with Deathstroke at all from DC's comics, you know that he's supposed to be decked out. So what I did is I took a drill bit, and as you can see there are holes on this Deathstroke figure which closely resemble the location of the holes on the Jazzwares figure. And that was pretty much it. From that point on I could just take the pegs from the armor pieces and just plug them into the figure. The next figure I want to showcase is one that I've briefly shown on the channel before during my Nerdslayer video. I have modded this War Machine since then, but I've never really shown the figure off in any measurable detail in the first place. Since I've received a few requests to feature him, I figured now is just as good a time as any. This base was also a cheap figure, released by Hasbro several years back. I had this idea to combine him with parts from my Japanese assemble board figures that I've been collecting since college, and man did it pay off. I'm not kidding when I say this base figure lacks articulation. 7 points. That's it. Terrible. But adding these missile pods, mini Gatling guns, flamethrowers, and lasers really turned this guy around. And all of the features I added are also removable, just like my custom Deathstroke. War Machine was fairly easy to customize. I just drilled several holes that were barely large enough to allow Revoltech joints and pegs to plug into the figure, and from there I just used my imagination when choosing parts from my assemble boards that looked like various weapons. For example, these two shoulder mounted lasers are actually just motorcycle exhausts. I had to get creative with some of the other parts so that way I could retain movement among some of these different components. But I think I did a pretty damn good job. A lot of these parts can actually be folded back into the figure, which I love, so I can display him differently at different times if I wish. So aside from assemble board parts, I also used, if you can see those hoses, those were actually from a few of my son's Lego sets. I believe it was the Galaxy Police sets or something. I didn't have to do any modifications. The end of the hoses fit really nicely into those assemble board Revoltech ports. As I said before, all of these components are of course removable. So you can see here this little flamethrower thing, and I've got the little Revoltech peg that just plugs right into those holes that I drilled. It was very important to me when customizing this figure that War Machine had a lot of stuff going on. Otherwise he's just Iron Man, right? I mean, the only thing that separates him from Iron Man is he has a lot of guns. But it was equally as important that all of this stuff be removable, and so it is. I didn't glue it or anything, and those pegs can be easily removed just by pulling on them. Of all the figures I've customized in this scale, this 12-inch scale, I gotta say this is probably my favorite. It might have to do with the fact that War Machine is probably my favorite character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but then again, he often feels marginalized. I really wish they'd give him more screen time. It's not lost upon me that this War Machine has a lot of crap on his shoulders, so with all that extra weight, War Machine's going to need a little bit of a boost. So naturally I added these little rocket boosters to the back of his shoulders and these two here on his calves at the bottom. When customizing our action figures, we mustn't forget physics. As if that matters, because these things are plastic and they can't really fly. I can't help it if I've got an imagination. As you can see, his electronics still work and his arc reactor does light up, so it's just a little added bonus. These next two figures are Brainiac and Metallo, two of Superman's greatest foes. Both were made with Halo figures from Mattel, and I just attached some custom unpainted heads I purchased from an online vendor. I always thought Brainiac kind of looked too human for my taste, so I wanted to go with a more menacing alien head. Can't say that I'm disappointed with the way it turned out. I of course gave him green skin and the pink eyes so that he more closely resembled his comic book counterpart, so hopefully people recognize him. And finally, this last custom figure was one I actually purchased from someone else. If you haven't already guessed, this is Terry McGinnis' Batsuit from Batman Beyond. I saw the original base figure and I had the same exact idea, but this guy beat me to it. Rather than attempt my own, I purchased it outright to support a fellow customizer. After all, us modders are a small community and we gotta look out for one another. This guy did a tremendous job, and I love the wings. I mean, they don't look exactly like the wings from the Terry McGinnis Batsuit, but it still looks freaking cool. Before I go, I'd like to extend a formal invitation for you all to follow me on Instagram. Same name as the channel. Sometimes you get a sneak peek at what's coming down the pipe days or weeks before I publish new content. That's all for me, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys next time.